Hello, and welcome to the Carla Knits podcast. This is a podcast about knitting, sometimes crocheting, but always all of the yarny goodness that I love. This is episode 33. Today is Friday, November 12th, and I am coming to you from a very blustery, windy day here in Nebraska. The wind is going upwards 40 to 50 miles per hour, so very windy outside. I'm so happy to be back with you this week for another week of crafty chat. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as cbcraftygirl, and we do have a podcast group on Ravelry, and all of the things will be linked in the show notes down below. Currently in our Ravelry group, we have a make-along going on. This is called the HollyJollyMAL. It started November 1st and goes through January 15th. And this is anything having to do with Christmas. So and it can be any kind of making, knitting, crocheting, sewing, cross-stitching, weaving, anything that you are making kind of in this time period, whether you celebrate Christmas or not, or one of the other holidays in the month of December. So it can be Christmas socks, it could be gifts that you are making for other people. I believe that I have someone in the group that is interested in making things for people for charity, which is wonderful. It can be, you know, as our advent calendar, some of the advent calendars will be coming out soon. Any projects that you are making with those will be welcome in there. We have a chatter thread and a finished object thread, and I will be drawing prizes from both of those threads following that January 15th finish date. I have had a couple of donations to the make-along. Still waiting on one of them, but I want to show you one that came this week, which is absolutely lovely. I was so excited. This beautiful bag, it's a beautiful drawstring bag. Inside has this lovely green and white fabric. So hopefully you can see that. Nice drawstring bag. This is by Susan Smith, who is on Instagram, and she is delightful_works on Ravelry. She made this bag. She currently does not have an Etsy shop, but if you go to her Instagram feed, she does have some pictures of bags that she has made. So if you message her directly on Instagram, you could work with her to get yourself a beautiful bag. And if you mention this podcast, she is willing to offer free shipping. So Susan does collaborate with another maker on Instagram. So her bags with that other maker would not be available for this offer, but you would need to contact Susan directly on Instagram, and you can check her feed for some of her bags and her fabric prints, and then message her and tell her that you saw this and heard about her on the Carla Knits podcast, and she is offering up free shipping. So thank you so much, Susan. That was so generous of you. And this is such a fun, lovely, wintry bag. I thought this would be perfect for the end of the Mal make along to offer up as a prize for someone to use in the winter time. And Susan was so very generous that she also sent a lovely bag along for me too. So this is a beautiful Christmassy bag. I love all things Christmas, so all the beautiful Christmas words on here: Merry Christmas, Ho Ho Ho, Noel, with poinsettias, and then the inside is a green and white fabric again, and just a lovely drawstring bag. So I am looking forward to putting a project into this, and it probably will be one of my Advent projects because it's a pretty good sized bag. So I'm looking forward to using that very soon in the month of December, which will be here before we know it. All right, let's see. let me get to my right spot. I'm still on last week's show notes. I don't want to do that. HollyJollyMAL, yes. So I want to thank those who have donated prizes to the podcast. And if you are a maker, yarn dyer, stitch maker, or, you know, stitch progress, what am I trying to say? Stitch markers, progress keepers. If you are a pattern designer, bag maker, I don't know if I said that, and you would like to donate to the podcast, that would be greatly appreciated. It could go for this current make along, or it could go for a giveaway or a future make along. I do have a few make alongs planned for the new year. So if you would like to donate, you certainly can reach out to me on Instagram or Ravelry, and I would greatly appreciate that. So thank you. All right, what I am wearing something today. So talking about Christmas makings and advent calendars, I am wearing one of the projects that I made last year with my advent calendar. This pattern is from the Advent Mini Trio by Cozy Up Knits. And Trio, it came with 3 patterns. So this cowl, and it came with a hat pattern and mitts. And this used 2 strands of fingering yarn, so marled together. So you were always using 2 strands, one from like the previous day and then the next day in the advent calendar. And you can see it's a very, very generous size cowl. So I could still wrap it around one more time, you know, if I wanted it a little closer, which is what I have done in the past, you know, in the last winter when I wanted it, you know, really snugly when I was outside. But this just feels really nice today like this. And I love how this turned out. This advent calendar was by Cornbread and Honey, and she was a new dyer to me at that time. So, and her advent calendar worked as a fade. So one color kind of faded into the next. Yeah, so that was one of my projects from last year. Okay, on to some knitting items for today. I don't have any finished objects, but I do have 2 half objects, which I'm sure you can guess what they are. They are socks. If you guessed that, you are correct. So my first one is this sock made with Bumblebee Acres Farm yarn in the Victorian Christmas colorway. And I added in a contrasting mini, and it does have some silver stellina in there, but I know that doesn't get picked up by the camera. There you can see it on the side without the markers. So I told you last week, I think I wasn't as excited when I started knitting it, but after I added the green, then I really do like it. So I'm excited to have that first one done. Boy, but it felt like forever going down the foot of the sock. I don't know. But that is the first one done. And then my second sock is the one I showed last week that I had just started. This is a DK weight sock, and I followed the pattern, the DK weight vanilla sock pattern by Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady. And the yarn is by a Homespun house in the Gingerbread House colorway. So I think this is really Christmassy and fun. And it's neat to see both sides of the sock because it's very different, isn't it? Yeah, I absolutely love that. Yeah, so this one, of course, DK weight does knit up faster, so I'm enjoying working with that. Yeah, so those are the 2 half objects. Going into some works in progress, so things I am currently knitting on. You could guess, here is sock number 2 with that Victorian Christmas yarn colorway. So I have the cuff done and 20 rounds on the leg, 22 rounds on the leg or so. Yeah, so I've had a couple projects with ribbing, so I don't know, it felt like I was doing a lot of ribbing this week. So I'm glad to get to the stockinette portion on that. Yeah, so that's my progress on that. I have not started on sock number 2 of the Gingerbread House yarn, so that needs to happen really soon. I did cast on a new hat with the intent that I will use it for a Christmas gift. Let's see. Not too far, but it's a 2.5. It's a 2.5 inch ribbing, so it's a 1x1 ribbing, and I'm just not a big fan of ribbing, but that's okay. It's a necessary thing for socks and hats too, but a 1x1 rib. This hat is the Antler Hat by tincanknits, and I have knit several of these. I know Jeff has one, and one of his uncles has one, and I did send one to my dad for his birthday one year that my mom kind of took over, I think. Hi, Mom, if you're watching. But that's okay. So it's the Antler Hat. I'm not too far into the cable repeat, but it has like antler-like cables in it. So I'm through 2 repeats. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. And I'm doing the largest size, which says 9 repeats, but I always do 8 repeats because it just gets too big. So 8 repeats has always been fine. The yarn that I'm using, this was a new to me dyer. So this lovely blue with so different shades of blue and gray blacks in there, is by a Discovery of Stitches on Etsy. And this colorway is called Fathom. So I'm enjoying working on a project that has cables, and this is the first time making this hat that I am doing the cables without a cable needle, and that is just a game changer. I absolutely love it. It goes so much faster. So this has been a good year for learning to knit and put that into different projects. So knitting without a cable needle. So that is the Antler Hat. And then my last work in project, which has gotten a lot of work this week, is the Lola Chic sweater. Lola Chic sweater. So you can see where that progress keeper is. So I finished the front and did the shoulder shaping. And then I have just picked up the back and started again, but that's not really too much to show. So in the original, in the pattern, it said to knit 8 inches from the bottom before you, divide and continue up the front. And I did 12 inches, but I don't know, it still seems a little short to me. I don't know. I'm hoping it's going to be okay, because I do not like super cropped things. Although I am putting it with a skirt that has a paper bag waist, so it's a higher waisted skirt, which will be fine. I am hoping it blocks out maybe a little bit longer. And again, I don't know. I'm using Berroco Vintage DK. The color is 2101, and it does have wool and nylon in it, but it also has acrylic. So I guess I will be curious to see how it blocks out. If you have used this type of yarn, Berroco Vintage DK, and want to share if it blocks or how it blocks, I would be interested in hearing about that. So you can always leave that in the comments down below. And I do love reading your comments, either in the YouTube comments or on Instagram, or I've been reading the chatter thread in our group on Ravelry, and it's just so much fun, and fun getting to know you guys a little bit better through some of those things is just great. I love seeing people who who write often, or write every week or so, or every episode, or every couple of episodes. It's really nice. So I consider you guys my friends. So thank you guys for those of you who write, and yeah, just thank you guys. All right, so that is my last work in progress for today, that sweater got a lot of my attention. So I really, really do love the pattern. I didn't tell you what the pattern is. I'm so sorry. It's Lola Chic by Annie Lupton of Boho Chic Fiber. Yes, so those are my works in progress. I wanted to talk a little bit about Advent projects. I was hoping some ideas would come forth maybe in the chatter thread or, you know, in the comments about what people are making, you know, for their Advent projects. But haven't heard any, so I kind of wanted to go digging. I have a couple Advent calendars coming. Let's see, I have one from, let's see, I want to get this right. I think it's Tippy Tree Yarns. And then I have one coming, and that's a fingering weight. And then I have one coming from So Happy Jane, and that's a DK weight one. I really had only intended on getting one Advent calendar because they are spendy. And I bought that fingering weight one in the spring, but then I saw a DK weight one, and I had never had a DK weight one, and I guess I didn't know that there were DK weight Advent calendars, so I was really excited with the thought of DK weight, you know, with the possibility of making a project that faster because it might work up a little quicker. So I thought I would talk about some Advent projects today. So if you can see behind me, I have two projects that I have used minis for, and I have shared these on the podcast before. So this is my crochet granny stripe blanket and the coziest memory blanket. So the crochet blanket is by Attic 24, and it's called Granny Stripes or Granny Stripe on Ravelry. And then the top one is called the coziest memory by Kemper Ray. So I have a crochet blanket going and a knit blanket going. So those are great ways that you can use your minis. Then I wanted to show you, and if you've been with me since the beginning, you've seen this. This was my Advent project from last year. I'm not going to unfold the whole thing, but I used my Advent calendar last year. This was Stress Knits 2020, and I made the Habitation Throw by Helen Stewart. So this was a lovely blanket to make. I will say it got a little monotonous. It's a lot of garter stitch, and then there's some eyelet rows. But sometimes that monotony in knitting is necessary to get our finished object. And I really love the finished blanket. It is so nice and squishy. And it actually sits back on my quilt rack in the middle. You can't really see it, but it sits on there, and it really is just a nice squishy throw. So that is a pattern I could definitely recommend. And then I did some research on Ravelry and have come up with some other projects. So I'm going to do my best to try to insert photos here or as I talk about these, but if not, then they certainly will all be linked down below. Just remember, I'm not very technically savvy, so I will do my best to insert pictures, but it might not happen. So I've got these grouped in categories of blankets, shawls, wraps, and then cowls, and then a couple miscellaneous things. So for blankets, there is the Crochet Northeasterly Chevron Blanket by Katie Stevens. This is a DK weight pattern. You certainly could hold two fingering together or use a DK weight, and I'm sure you could probably adjust it for any weight yarn you would like. But this was kind of fun because it was crochet, and it is based on a knitted blanket. But I just wanted to share that this is a crochet option. Another crochet option is Happy Scrappy Squares by Sandra Paul of Cherry Heart. And this is for any weight of yarn too. So you don't necessarily have to have advent calendars. If you have scraps, a lot of scraps of any kind, You certainly can use these for most of the projects, so any weight of yarn. Then a knitted blanket, the Cozy Comfort Throw, and this is for fingering doubled, and this was from a Homespun house. I believe this came out last year as part of her advent calendar. Yeah, so those are the blankets. Then for shawls, I have 3 shawls that I wanted to mention. The first is Letters Home by Larissa Brown, and this is a DK weight pattern. And again, you could hold 2 strands of fingering together for this or use DK weight. And I like this shawl because it uses differing stitch patterns throughout, including color work, but you don't have to do the color work. And so I think there's directions in there for not using the color work if you don't want to. Then the Luminaria shawl by Lindsay Fowler uses fingering weight yarn, and it looks like you need a main color and then all the different contrasting mini skeins of fingering yarn. And then the last shawl is the Noah shawl by Devin Ventry. This is a fingering weight shawl. It is a massive, lovely looking shawl. It has tassels on it. It looks just beautiful. And then wraps. So some of these have shawl in the name, but they're more like wraps because of the length of them, like the rectangular style. And I did want to share, I did what I consider more of the wrap. This was the Dust of Snow wrap by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. And this I made in 2019 with, my advent calendar was from Yarnbrary, and all of her colorways were based on Christmas carols or Christmas hymns, which I absolutely loved as a musician. So, it was used with the minis, and then I held it together with a like a natural color of mohair, and it is beautiful. Not super duper practical. I haven't really worn it a lot, but I should once it gets really cold. I definitely should. Yeah, it would be really good to wrap up on. And I really enjoyed the making of this. So there are various stitch patterns in here. Hopefully you can see that. And then working together with the mohair, it was just so soft and lovely. It was a very comforting thing to work on in the month of December when I worked on that. So that was from, I think, 2019, I said. So some other wraps that I came up with, the Winter Wonder Wrap by Sally Jane Cameron. It's a fingering weight wrap. The Dickens Advent Shawl by Anne Podlesak is a fingering weight wrap. That looked really fun. Maybe it was based on colors from a Dickens, like Christmas Carol colors, maybe yarn colors. And then a couple crochet wraps, Mrs. Lamb's Advent Shawl, and the designer, it said Mrs. Lamb. It's a crochet fingering. And then the Just Feel Festive Shawl, also crochet, and it's fingering held double, excuse me, and it's by Kalisha Ryan. So there are a lot of options out there. Cowls, I already shared this cowl. Again, this was by Cozy Up Knits, and it also came with hat and fingerless mitts. So you could use your entire advent calendar to do all 3 projects. Now, I still have my leftovers. This was the only thing I made from that pattern. So a few cowls. Simple Advent Cowl is fingering held double or DK weight. The Festive Cheer Cowl by Yarnia Designs. is fingering weight. And then Free the Minis is also a fingering weight, and that is by Amy Meeks. So those are all really fun cowl options. And then just a couple other things as far as a hat. I came up with the Scrappy Marl hat by, I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but it's by the lady who does the Hedgehog Fibers yarn, Beta Jezek. So the Scrappy Marl hat is fingering doubled. And then a sweater, if you are ambitious and would like to make a sweater, there is the Scrappy V sweater by Jamie Hoffman, and it is a fingering weight sweater using lots of minis. So those are that's just a sampling of the projects out there, but there are so many more. I have many more listed in my favorites. And then I wanted to share what I think I am going to do with my advent calendars. So the first is, let me just get this together here. The first is the Advent Shawl by Marie G. Knits. And hopefully you can see that picture fairly well. What really drew this one, what drew me to this one, words, okay, are all of the different stitch patterns in there. It looks like there's bobbles, there's some lace, there's some striping. So that just looked really interesting. So, you are investing in a big time project if you have those Advent minis. So, or if you have lots of fingering weight yarns left over, you could totally do the same thing with those. So I'm thinking about that for the fingering weight yarn. And then I have this one. This is the Fairbanks shawl. And this is the DK weight shawl, and it's crochet. So I thought it would be really fun to have, and this is by Tony of TL Yarn Crafts. And I just thought it would be fun to have a crochet project going at the same time. I just think that's really cute. So I really am not sure what the colors are going to look like. Let's see, the Hippie Tree Yarns one is a Christmas Carol. No, I said that wrong. A Nutcracker themed advent calendar, and I was drawn to the picture that she posted for that. And also the Nutcracker is special because our daughter Jenna was in the Nutcracker when she was really young, when she was taking dance, and she had to audition, and she got a part as an angel in the production in Lincoln. So once we start digging out our Christmas our Christmas decorations, I do have a picture of her that, if I remember, I will share that with you. And then the other calendar by So Happy Jane, I think it's called Floriography. I think it's floral colors, if I remember correctly. So I will be showing those as they come. So that is my upcoming Advent plans. As of today, I can always change my mind. I'm sure there will be new patterns coming out. Just a little bit of chatter for today. Things are going well here, just busy. The weeks kind of just zoom on by. It's hard to believe that, we're almost mid-November here. So I have just about 3 weeks until 3 weeks of classes, and then exam week for the semester. So it's really kind of flown on by. We've had some concerts to go to. This coming week, Jeff's choir was selected to participate in a music educators conference in Lincoln. So I am looking forward to that. And of course, he and the ladies, the women's choir, have been working really hard in preparation for that. So that will be coming up this coming week. Jeff just thrilled my heart today. He came out and he pulled up his pant leg and he's like, I've got my knit socks on today. So I was so excited to see him pull his knit socks out again for the first time this season. He said it definitely feels like a good knit sock day, and I agree with him. It really does. So that was kind of fun to see. I think that is all for today. So I hope you are all doing well. If you would like to join in the HollyJollyMAL with any kind of Christmas mix, you don't have to have an advent calendar. It doesn't have to be Christmas themed yarn, even just something that you're making festive or for somebody or Christmas gifting. I'd love to have you join in that. And again, all show notes down below will guide you to those places. So if you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, and I'd love it if you'd subscribe. With that, I will say goodbye and have a great week with your creative makings, and I hope to see you real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.